in pain relief. Curamed Acute Pain Relief from Terry Naturally is an easy-to-swallow soft gel with results you can feel with clinically proven technology. Curamed Acute Pain Relief is a triple-action pain formula with the most clinically studied bioavailable curcumin in the world.
And you can get this at Rhonda's Nature's Way, 8059 Callahan Road, at the corner of I-10 West and Callahan.
Occasional muscle pain due to exercise or overuse. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
On Around the House, host Eric G. helps homeowners and contractors tackle projects that seemed beyond their abilities. This is not
Todd Marquardt is sponsored by the Marquardt Law Firm and does not attempt to solve your individual legal problems upon the basis of information contained herein. Instead, contact an attorney to discuss the specific facts and circumstances of your unique situation. The views and opinions of this program do not reflect the views of the Salem Media Group.
It's time for Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt. Todd Marquardt, attorney at law in Texas. If you're a millionaire or a thousandaire, Talk Law Radio is now on the air. Call in with your business law question, your elder law question, veteran aid, Medicaid, build a business to get paid. 210-308-8867. Or ask a question online at marquardtlawfirm.com. That's MARQUARDT lawfirm.com. And now it's Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt.
Talk Law Radio, I'm Todd Marquardt, here with Joseph Warren from Financial Planning HQ. After the financial focus, we're going to be talking about the Lindsay Clancy case, postpartum depression, and the fact that she killed her 3 children. But first, the financial focus. Joseph and his team specialize in helping folks build clear, confident path for their financial future. They use a process that is not about product sales or gathering assets to manage, but about giving the absolute best advice possible to a select number of clients. Joseph, welcome.
Always great to be on. Thank you, Todd.
I'm looking forward to continuing with your theme of mistakes in retirement. Are you making these financial mistakes in retirement? What's the first mistake you want to cover today?
Yeah, the first one I wanted to talk about is, I guess you could call it ignorance or retiring blind, but it's really guessing when it comes to when you should retire. And I believe my brother had a really great story about that, where he was talking about a teacher who was ready to retire, said she was ready to, take some time off. She had been working very hard as a teacher. And he looked at the numbers and she wasn't yet ready. And he had that conversation with him. That's one of our core principles, is to give our clients the unvarnished truth, even when it's uncomfortable to do, especially when it is. And he told her, you can, maybe in a few years be able to retire. Mm-hmm. And she was able to retire on her terms in just a few years with some planning. That's one side of it. But I've also seen the flip side of that. So I had a client come to me who was burnt out, just really exhausted, ready to stop working. Mm-hmm. And I ran the numbers, after doing the financial roadmap, looking at what's important to him, what his goals were. I ran the numbers, and there was a 100% chance of success. And it was good news, but at the same time, I wish he had gotten to me sooner, because there was extra years where he worked there, extra years of stress, and he could have, quit working a lot sooner.
He worked too long.
Yep. So it's two sides of that. Maybe being confident when you shouldn't be confident, and being unconfident when you should have been more confident. But we really base it on the numbers, right? So we base it on your actual situation, and then the only emotions that are involved is the inspiring emotions that you gave us during your financial roadmap about what's important to you, exactly what you want to achieve and why. And then we come to you and tell you, this is the best course of action to take. So that's our approach, and it really makes it so there's no guesswork at all.
Wow, that makes total sense. When you know your exact numbers, the actual act of retiring gets a lot clearer. How can our listeners avoid these mistakes?
One thing that we do with clients, it's actually pretty simple to do, is we determine your exact financial independence number. That's the exact amount you need in investments and assets and savings to retire. And I wanted to offer to your listeners, if you want to give me a call at 210-444-2128, we will help you solve that, in a few minutes. We could do that in a 20-minute, 30-minute Zoom call. So if you call that number, 210-444-2128, talk about financial independence number, I'll give you a call today, and we can, determine that together. And if it's a good fit to move to the next step, we'll schedule your financial roadmap as well. We also do that Monte Carlo situation. So I talked about the chances of success. That Monte Carlo is really just, we run 1,000 simulations of different market conditions, from the worst of the worst to the best of the best. And based on that, we can determine with accuracy if you're going to have money at age 100, at end of life. And that's another thing that we do. And we make decisions based on that, making sure that you have your money last for the rest of your life, so you can enjoy your time in retirement. You can really,
Right.
spend time with the grandkids, do what you want to do, and not have to worry about inflation, China, or some
Right.
Scott Bessent or anything like that.
So if you want Joseph and his team to walk you through calculating your financial independence number in just a few minutes, call him at 210-444-2128 today. What's another big mistake you see people making in retirement?
Another that I've seen is making decisions out of fear or uncertainty versus making decisions based on clarity and really knowing your situation. Early in my career, I think there's a few meetings that really stick in my mind that I can't forget. And one of them was an older couple who came to me and kind of looked kind of shy, maybe a little bit scared. And they told me that they had sold all their investments during the crash in 2008 and put them in CDs and put them in cash. And logically, I know that's not the right thing to do, because it creates a compound problem. One of it is, you're locking in that loss. You're not taking part in the recovery that happened afterwards. But the other thing is, by doing nothing, you're losing money each year to inflation.
Yeah, they traded market risk for inflation risk.
That's exactly right. So when I saw that, I always think that once you know your situation, we like to take the emotions out of it, like I said, except for those values that are important to you. There's a saying that we say a lot: when your values are clear, your decisions are easy. So when we start with that financial roadmap process, we want to know what those inspiring values are. Some people start with saying, it's security, but then it gets higher and higher level. Like, I want to build a legendary legacy, or I want to make a dent in the world. We want those to be the emotions you're making decisions off of, not fear. And we make it very clear. So that's our process. It's designed to take the complicated, make it very clear so you can make better decisions and have money be something that's working for you instead of something that's stressing you out.
Yeah. Can you give us an example of how this plays out beyond just the stock market?
Yeah. Even just, that's a great question, but even just, sometimes it's not fear, I think beyond the stock market and things like that, there's been some people that we've seen that they weren't even scared. They were just too busy or they just didn't know. I've had a few business owner clients come to me and they weren't taking advantage of the S corporation structure. And that's not something that I expect your audience to be researching, or business owners to really need to know. That's what we're here for. We made sure that we're getting the maximum tax benefit by setting their salaries to the right amount, maximizing their QBI deduction, qualified business income deduction. Again, if you want to research that and do that, you're not a good fit for our team. You can do it on your own, but we really make sure that you have the right numbers and you're making the absolute best decisions, and then we answer to you and make sure everything's getting done.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
But the point is, real quick, is we saved them tens of thousands of dollars in taxes. And again, I wish they had come to us sooner, because that could have been more years of having that money work for them.
Right. That reminds me, I read an article about the government policy under Section 3111 of Title 31. The Treasury recently increased the amount of government bonds that can buy back to counter a sell-off in the bond market. But the Federal Reserve Chairman opposes injecting liquidity this way because it fights his efforts to fight inflation. How does the average millionaire deal with this type of government policy situation where the Treasury does one thing and the Fed chairman does another?
I would just say real quick that our clients are not worried about that at all. And not only that, our money managers, we don't just work with any money manager. So we say we have a team, the CPA, the insurance agent, estate planning attorney. We work with the best, right? And our money managers were talking about this 1 or 2 years ago. The pressure to lower interest rates because they're going to have to pay that 40 trillion in debt, almost 40 trillion, and they're going to want to do it at lower interest rates. But at the same time, inflation being a factor. So our clients have been well positioned for a long time with precious metals, even a small amount of hedging with digital assets, and they're positioned so they'll be protected from long-term inflation, which we see as a big risk for everybody.
Yeah, that's good to hear. We've gone over a lot of retirement mistakes over the past 2 episodes. What's the absolute biggest mistake people make in retirement?
One word, inaction, doing nothing. I think that's something I see a lot. And when you do that, you kind of get the default. Instead of you forging the future that you want to create, you kind of just get whatever's left over. So one of my favorite poems, I remember on Thanksgiving, we were talking about poems, and I don't know how good I am at reading them, but 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that's made all the difference. I think about that because it's funny because he was actually making fun of his friend who was scared to make the right decision. But there's truth in it. The decisions we make today really matter. The decisions you make with your finances are going to set you on a better course or a worse course. So we encourage you to call us to complete your financial roadmap. It's just a 90-minute meeting, no obligation, and it's going to be valuable to you whether we work together or not. And during that time, we're going to really create a vision of what you want to do in the future. So if you want to schedule that, no obligation, it's not going to be a sales pitch or anything like that. Call me at 210-444-2128. That's 210-444-2128. Or email me at joseph@financialhq.net. You can just email me the word roadmap and I'll get back to you within a day.
We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking about the Lindsay Clancy case. Stay tuned. Are you confident about your financial future? What if you had a clear financial roadmap and a team holding you accountable to make the best financial decisions no matter what? At Financial Planning HQ, Steve and his sons, Joseph and Jacob, have been helping San Antonio families since 1987 with inspiring, intelligent financial strategies. Whether it's achieving or maintaining financial independence, becoming more tax efficient, or building business wealth, we create a comprehensive, written lifetime financial strategy that's uniquely yours, based entirely on what's important to you. Don't leave your financial future to chance. Call Financial Planning HQ today at 210-685-2722. That's 210-685-2722. And take the first step towards financial clarity. That's Financial Planning HQ, inspiring financial strategies for San Antonio. Remember, 210-685-2722. Estate planning is about love, not money. It's one of the most thoughtful things you can do for the people you care about. I'm attorney Todd Marquardt, and I help families prepare for the unexpected so they can avoid court, avoid confusion, and avoid conflict. Whether you're starting from scratch or updating an old plan, I'll walk you through it. Get started with a free consultation. Call 210-530-4278 or visit marquardtlawfirm.com. Do it before you die.
9:30 a.m. Answer.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt. On the radio, on Facebook Live, on YouTube, and on talklawradio.com. Today, here with me is America Palmer, the wife of my law partner, Daniel Palmer, and Reagan Burleson, who is in charge of intake at the law firm. And we're going to be talking about the Lindsay Clancy case. If you haven't heard about it already, you're probably living under a rock because it's in the news every day. And the trial is live, isn't it? On Court TV and YouTube. So which one of you wants to set up the facts for everyone?
So the trial has been going on for about 2 weeks now, I want to say. And yes, it started, and it really brought forward the focus of mental health and how women are supported or lack of support for their mental health, especially postpartum. This woman, she had her 3rd child, and the 3rd child was about 8 months old, and she had been struggling with a lot of mental health issues after giving birth to her 3rd child. She asked for help. She may have not gotten the the appropriate help, and which led to her unfortunately strangling her 3 children.
Yeah, that's awful. So some people may not know what postpartum depression is. Have you heard of it, Reagan?
Yeah, I've heard of postpartum depression. It's a lot more common nowadays, and it does take a really big toll on your mental health. And people don't realize that you need as much support as you can get, especially if you have kids. Asking for help is always the number one, and I wouldn't be afraid to ask for help. It's always good to just talk about it, even if people are getting annoyed. Just over talk about it, get everything out.
Well, you're really brave, Reagan, because some mothers might be afraid to say that they were having these thoughts about hurting their children. I mean, somebody would say, well, you're a bad mother, or I'm going to call Child Protective Services, right, America?
Right, and take your children away from you. So, when you give birth, you think, you see all these commercials of these women of just like loving their children and feeling fulfilled, and this like image of like the Gerber baby and the happy family, and nobody really talks about how difficult it is to first give birth and adjust to that as a woman. So you're inadvertently like not encouraged to talk about any kind of struggles that you're facing, especially when it comes to your feelings towards your own children.
Right, and the husband probably knows nothing about postpartum depression. I don't think I've ever heard of a father saying, I'm depressed now that the baby's born. It's sort of a strange phenomenon that a mother would feel that way. I mean, does anybody know what the cause of postpartum depression is?
No, from my understanding, no, we don't know, and we don't know who is going to be affected by it either. It just really, from my understanding of it, it really just happens to women, and then sometimes they end up, going through the psychosis piece and ended up on the news and on a trial.
Yeah. Well, this is a tragic situation. The reason that we're talking about it is because there's a trial. And since I'm a lawyer, I like to talk about trials. And I started wondering, well, what's the legal blind spot here? What can people learn from this? And I think that there's one part of it is, should the prosecutor have started this trial? Should they have filed charges against somebody who's basically claiming not to be responsible for their actions because of insanity? Now, in Massachusetts, they don't talk about the defense of insanity. They just say not legally responsible, not culpable for their actions. And that's pretty scary, that there's people out there that can harm their children or harm us if we're just in the wrong place at the wrong time. But the law about it, the policy behind it is, well, if they didn't know what they were doing, we can't hold them criminally responsible. What are some of the other issues that got you interested in the trial, Reagan?
It was the amount of evidence surrounding the case and just all the inconsistencies. Not a lot is really making sense, especially with Patrick's testimony.
Is that the husband?
Yeah, Patrick Clancy. He's just kind of mixing up his stories, kind of going back and forth. It just doesn't make any sense, and they're still trying to make sense of it. But yeah, that's what pulled me in. I've been keeping track of it with the updates on the live TikTok of the court proceedings.
And so let's help the audience get to know you for a minute or two. Tell us what your background is. You have a college degree in what?
I have a bachelor's in psychology. I graduated from the University of the Southwest. I've played softball basically my entire life. So it's a little weird not playing softball anymore. And I have a rescue dog named Bison. He's a little firecracker.
So your background is in psychology. And so is that part of what interested you in this case?
Yes, I like trying to figure out why they did it before they come to a conclusion. Because I do think outside perspectives are very fresh, and a lot of people have different ways of seeing it. And sometimes people can kind of see through the gimmicks. And I feel like I'm a very good judge of people's character. So everything just is a little jumbled around in this case. So it's very interesting.
You're trying to figure everybody out.
Yeah.
America, let's get to know you a little bit. You can share as much or as little as you want. I let the audience know that you're married to Daniel Palmer, my law partner.
Yes.
So he's the lawyer. Tell us about you.
Yes, so I work in education, and I've been in education for the last 20 years or so. But the reason I was really interested in the trial is because I am married to an attorney who's for the last 14 years, and I follow a lot of the cases just out of interest and curiosity, and I get his opinion on it, and just to see the perspective from an attorney is also really fun. This case specifically, I do have a master's degree in counseling, so I did find it very interesting to bring up again the postpartum depression, because I feel like it hasn't really been a spotlight topic since Andrea Yates. That was the last big case that was followed involving postpartum depression.
Right.
So I just felt like finally, we're bringing it back up, and maybe now that the world is becoming a little bit more accepting of mental health and speaking about it and talking about it, that hopefully women will now have a little bit more support and feel a little more comfortable finding that support to prevent further atrocities like this happening.
Yeah, we don't want that to happen. So if you're just joining us, this is Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt here with America Palmer and Reagan Burleson. We're talking about the Lindsay Clancy case, which is a case about a mother who strangled her 3 children. She's not denying that. And the trial around it, all these mental health providers are testifying. Reagan said there's lots of evidence. And so we're going to sort through that throughout this episode. If you have a comment about the case, you can call us live today, Saturday, August the 22nd, 2026, 210-308-8867, 210-308-8867. If you're listening in Houston, San Antonio, or South Texas, give us a call and let us know what you think about the case. So, why are there so many witnesses?
There's a lot of doctors and therapists involved, and some of their stories aren't making sense either. I think most of the witnesses are character witnesses for her because they can't really pinpoint when it started, kind of how it was escalating. I know that her mom and Patrick's parents testified in her favor. And they were saying that she was an amazing mother, and that they didn't know about her thoughts of wanting to harm the kids. But I do think that the more witnesses that they go through, the more they're going to uncover and hopefully make more sense of the case.
Yeah. So, America, is this something that you learned in school when you were studying psychology and counseling?
Actually, no. It was never brought up in my whole master's program. postpartum depression or any issues with new mothers was not a topic discussed at all.
Well, one of my friends said that the postpartum therapist that Lindsay talked to claimed to be an expert. She had on her website that she was an expert in mental health therapy for postpartum depression, but she had only been out of her residency for 1 year. And so maybe she's responsible for not treating Lindsay appropriately.
Right, and I think that's why Lindsay filed a civil lawsuit against the care providers that she had prior to the incident, because she wasn't. She feels like she wasn't treated appropriately, or it was just kind of bounced back and forth between providers. Providers didn't talk to each other. They didn't read the medical records that she had. Like, they were just basically going off of what she was saying in these Zoom meetings that were like 15 minutes and
Oh, wow.
just passing her on. Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. There should be some care coordinator. I mean, I'm wondering, does this happen in other areas of medicine where, somebody's trying to feel better, and if one doctor isn't giving a good solution, I'm not feeling any better, then I go to somebody else, and are they going to talk to each other? This is a hidden legal issue blind spot, so listen to Talk Law Radio every Saturday and Sunday. Tomorrow at 4:30 in the afternoon, I'm going to be talking about the $1.4 trillion lawsuit against Meta. So listen on 9:30 a.m. The Answer. We'll be right back.
With SRN News, I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. The U.S. is imposing 50% tariffs on $20 billion worth of Canadian products after last-ditch negotiations failed to resolve the latest strain in relations. Canada says it will retaliate President Trump's import taxes taking effect today and will be hitting about 5% of what Canada ships into the U.S. every year. New CDC figures are highlighting the Trump administration's efforts to to reduce overdose deaths by cutting back on the number of illegal drugs are allowed over the border. Supporters say it all proves that the president's border and cartel crackdown is saving lives. Synthetic opioid deaths fell by 22%. Overall overdose deaths down by 14%. Tesla recalls nearly 3 million vehicles in China. The concern is door handles. They can, in some cases, not open. They're all electronic and they're hidden, and people are being trapped in cars.
AM. The Answer. Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt is sponsored by the Marquardt Law Firm and does not attempt to solve your individual legal problems upon the basis of information contained herein. Instead, contact an attorney to discuss the specific facts and circumstances of your unique situation. The views and opinions of this program do not reflect the views of the Salem Media Group.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt. Today we're talking about the Lindsay Clancy case, a murder trial against a mother who strangled her 3 children. This is the third segment. We're going to talk about the sinners and the saints. This is A Mighty Fortress is Our God. It's a favorite song of mine. I like to play the church music because we're talking about sinners and saints. And Martin Luther, the famous theologian that nailed his 95 Thesis to the church door, said, we're all sinners and saints. We're born into sin, but because of the birth, life, and death of Jesus Christ, we're forgiven and absolved. So I like to bring that into the law. And Reagan, who do you think the sinner in this case is?
I think that the sinner is not only Patrick Clancy, but also the mental health that I think they did fail her. And I think it should have been taken more serious.
So you're blaming the husband. What do you think that he did?
A lot of his stories are just not adding up. I think if he was worried that much about the thoughts she had about harming the kids, I think he definitely should have taken them or said, hey, I'm going to take them to my parents' house for the weekend. You just kind of have a reset weekend. I think that would have helped at least a little bit.
So she told her husband that she had thoughts about hurting the children, and he did nothing.
Yep.
And she asked Patrick, her husband, to go get a prescription from the drugstore and to pick up some food from a restaurant. And he left without the kids, knowing that his wife had these thoughts about harming his children. That just seems negligent, that maybe the children should file a lawsuit against him.
Yeah.
America, who do you think the sinner is?
I personally think it's the mental health providers and their lack of care for Lindsay, and not bringing more awareness to the different resources that she has available. Really focusing in on how to support her, but also even asking about how to support the husband. Right? Like, yes, Patrick maybe has a lot of faults, but at the same time, like, how do you handle it if you've never handled it before?
Right.
It's a very difficult thing to process and understand, much more so when you're the opposite sex, you know, and don't understand from the woman's perspective. And how do you support your wife? So I really think that the medical professionals here really failed this family.
Yeah, that's awful. What gets me is that she sought treatment. She was trying to get help, and she went to different medical providers. She took different medications, that all have side effects. And I hear a lot from our clients that are family members of somebody suffering from mental health problems that the person taking this medication doesn't like the side effects, and so they'll stop taking it. Well, then what's the natural side effect of that? Well, is to continue to have these mental health issues. So it's really difficult for the person that's going through it and for the family. So thank you for bringing that up. People often forget about the husband. I'm a husband, and I've been in situations where doctors and nurses just totally ignore me.
Right. Like, you're fine, just, stay quiet in the corner, and that's it. Right.
So we're talking about the Lindsay Clancy case, and the sinner is the failure of a lot of people to help this woman and to help the kids. I mean, they're the ones that ultimately paid the ultimate price. They died. Which is awful. So if this is happening to somebody that you know, just keep asking for help and make sure that the doctors and mental health providers, the therapists, the nurses, the doctors, that they all talk to each other. You should demand that. And that brings up another point. You know, if she could be said to have been incapacitated, you know, not making good decisions for herself, you know, somebody else should have stepped up. You know, who did she name in her medical power of attorney to make medical decisions for her? Then that person would be charged with asking tough questions and getting information and making decisions. Maybe she should have been in a long-term inpatient facility.
Right. And she did originally have her husband as a medical power of attorney. And once she was in the hospital after the incident, she asked to switch it over to her parents, which is interesting. It was before they got divorced and before she even talked to him about it. So that's interesting.
Yeah, we don't know what was going on in their marriage. Reagan, do you know when Patrick, the husband, hooked up with his new girlfriend or wife?
I could be wrong, but it was at least a year into their marriage.
He was already cheating on his wife.
Yes. And he was friends with some of Lindsay's doctors, and with her too. I mean, they ran a marathon together, and
The girlfriend?
yeah, they ran a marathon together with a couple of his doctor friends and her and himself, and she had a exercise band around her waist in the same knot, the sailor knot. So I thought that was very interesting.
It's interesting.
So
'Cause that's a weird thing to have.
the exercise band is how Lindsay strangled her children. And I heard that they found no DNA on the exercise bands belonging to Lindsay, but they did find the husband's DNA. I was just baffled how DNA would get on there, but I don't know, is it skin flakes or what?
I would think that exercise bands would be relatively easy to clean because they're very slippery. I'm not too sure. I'm sure it's probably skin cells, dead skin cells that were probably on it. That's probably what I think.
It's interesting that there isn't any evidence of Lindsay's DNA on it, though. That kind of got me a little bit too.
Yeah, it's just missing information. But he says that he untied the exercise bands when he got home and saw the children, and so that's why his DNA would be on there.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't go down to the basement to check on the kids until the paramedics got there. So everybody thought that was a little weird.
Oh, the paramedics were there because Lindsay had jumped out the window.
Yeah, when he got home, that's he saw her first outside.
Yeah.
And he asked her, like, where are the kids? And she says they're in the basement. So at that point, I think he waits for the paramedics to get there, then goes looking for the children.
Yeah.
Oh, so she didn't say I killed them in the basement. So he was thinking they were just down there
In the
playing.
basement.
Yeah. And I think the basement is where his home office was as well. That's where he worked from home.
And did the kids have a habit and practice of hanging out in the basement?
I'm not too sure. They didn't really go into that yet. They haven't really gone into depth of the whole layout of the basement or really anything else that was included in there.
No, they haven't.
And what about the 8-month-old? I mean, if your wife was taking care of the baby and she's laying in the front yard, call the paramedics and go find out where the baby is. I mean, could be screaming its head off.
Right. Or who know, or like, next to the stairs or something could get hurt.
Right.
And yeah, so.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that would just leave a baby alone.
Mm-mm.
And so either this guy's, not very smart, or maybe he was involved or did it or didn't like his kids. It's just very weird.
Yeah. And we haven't been able to hear the 911 call in its entirely because they're not sharing it with the public. So I'm curious to hear, because apparently in the 911 call you can hear him talking to the 911 operator about Lindsay, and then he's like, "I'm going to go look for the kids," and he finds the kids on the phone. So you hear him wailing and crying apparently, and eventually he says she killed the kids.
Wow.
But we haven't been able to hear it. So I feel like if we were able to hear it, we might either understand his perspective and see if maybe he is hurting, he's just hiding it well now, or, is he lying?
Yeah. Okay, well, we're talking about the Lindsay Clancy case, a trial against a mother for murdering her 3 children, and she has claimed the lack of criminal responsibility defense, which in Texas we would refer to as not guilty by reason of insanity. She did seek treatment after she realized that she was suffering from postpartum depression. She saw multiple mental health providers, was taking lots of different medications, and ended up tragically killing her own children. This is Talk Law Radio. We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking about legacy. Stay tuned. Are you 100% confident that no matter what happens in the financial markets, economy, or world events, you will achieve your financial goals? If not, we have a process to get your financial house in perfect order and keep it that way forever. Your financial future shouldn't be a guessing game. Planning, advice, organization, and accountability are deliverables you should expect. For over 35 years, Financial Planning HQ has been San Antonio's trusted partner for comprehensive written lifetime financial strategies. Steve and his team, including sons Joseph and Jacob, don't believe in a one-size-fits-all approach. Instead, they create a personalized financial roadmap for you based on what's important to you. As an independent registered investment advisor, they're not tied to any big corporation's products. They work for you, creating inspiring, intelligent financial strategies that put your interests first. Call Financial Planning HQ at 210-685-2722. That's 210-685-2722. Estate planning is about love, not money. It's one of the most thoughtful things you can do for the people you care about. I'm attorney Todd Marquardt, and I help families prepare for the unexpected so they can avoid court, avoid confusion, and avoid conflict. Whether you're starting from scratch or updating an old plan, I'll walk you through it. Get started with a free consultation. Call 210-530-4278 or visit marquardtlawfirm.com. Do it before you die.
9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt. On the radio, on Facebook, on YouTube. In fact, you can do me a favor right now. Go online to the YouTube website, click the search bar, type Talk Law Radio, and look for the Lady Justice logo in the red, white, and blue colors, and click subscribe. That way you can get notices every time we post a new YouTube video. And the videos break down the show into different segments and that you can watch while you're walking the dog, washing the dishes, or working in the garage. Today we're talking about the Lindsay Clancy case, but since this is the 4th segment, we're going to talk about legacy.
And now, it's time for the Talk Law Radio Legacy Spotlight. What's your legacy? Sponsored by Marquardt Law Firm.
Reagan Burleson works at Marquardt Law Firm. She does intake. And America Palmer is married to Daniel Palmer, my law partner at Marquardt Law Firm. And so you guys know what we do. Last wills, living trusts, and tax protected inheritance plans. It's all about legacy. So I want to ask you guys about your legacy. Reagan, you're first.
My legacy, I would want to know that I did everything I could for everybody that crossed my path. I would want everybody that I cross paths with to feel safe and heard, and entrust me into telling me anything and everything at any time. I think that would be a great accomplishment to leave behind.
You care about people, and you don't want them to suffer with their problems. And so someday you would like to be a therapist, right?
Yes, I would. I would like to open my own practice someday. Someday.
And tell us about something that you would like to pass down.
Ooh. Something I'd like to pass down is my Victrola record player and my vinyls, because I have an addiction to collecting vinyls every time I go antiquing. I have a record organizer too. So one day I'm going to put them all on the wall and have like a collection. And make
What
it
a
look
wonderful
super cool.
legacy. America, tell us about your legacy.
So when I think about legacy, I think mostly about my son. So what I hope to for him to take out of our relationship together and be able to take over once I move on to a different realm is my plants and the garden and being one with nature. I would love for him to keep caring for my plants, but I'm not so attached to material things that I am going to force him to do it or like make him feel guilty. So if he wants to like donate it to like botanical gardens or something like that, that's great. I just want him to have that love of Mother Nature and understanding of plants.
Yeah. And your love of nature led you to get a special certification. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I did complete the Texas Master Naturalist program for here in Texas. You learn about native plants and you learn about the different soils and all about nature, specifically in Texas and specifically in San Antonio, since it varies so much. Our state is so big. So part of my love of plants is learning even more about how native plants can help pollinators and help, our planet Earth as a whole, just from doing little things here in San Antonio.
Well, right after this show, there's, what's the show called, Mark? Forget the name of the show, but everyone listens to it. They talk about plants. So I'm sorry, listeners, that I can't remember the name of the show immediately following, but you know it. Call us right now at 210-308-8867 and tell me what the name of that show is. We've been talking about the Lindsay Clancy case, the case against a mother who murdered her 3 children, and whether or not she should be criminally responsible for that. She is not going to have a very good legacy. I mean, her legacy's dead. And we don't want this to happen to anybody else. And so what are some tips? What are some things that you guys have learned from this case that our listeners should benefit by? Reagan?
I think a huge thing to take seriously is parents' mental health, and even checking up on the husband, making sure everybody has an outlet that they feel safe talking about anything with, regardless of the categories or what it is about, even if it is, self-harming or harming other people. I think getting it off your chest would make you feel a whole lot better. But yeah, I think just kind of checking in with everybody every once in a while. It's not going to hurt anybody.
Yeah, it's good to have friends and family to take care of each other. America, what do you think?
No, I absolutely agree. I feel like, if anything, we should all be reminded that, these difficult things do happen, and it doesn't make you a bad mother. It doesn't make the person that you're living with a bad person, and making it more acceptable to talk about and without judgment, and make it more comfortable so that people can get the support that they need before any atrocities do happen.
Yeah. We have Bert live on the air.
Hey, Todd. Hey, Miss Lady. I forgot your name, but it's Milberger's Garden Show.
Milberger.
And I'm actually outside in the garden right now listening to you on the radio. I cut it down, but I believe it's like it says in Genesis, man's purpose is to tend and keep the garden. So I'm doing it.
Awesome.
And just to say, if this woman had these psychotic problems and psychosis, why was she even anywhere around with children if the doctor said so? That's my question. That's what a lot of big yachts say, hey, what's going on here? So that's all I had to say about it.
Thanks, Bert. Have a good day.
All right, Todd.
Bye.
All is well. Bye now.
And I think that's part of the concern of of women expressing these feelings that they're having, is that, are they going to take the children away from me? Am I ever going to be allowed to be with my kids again? So I feel like there's got to be, I agree that if there's this issue with a woman having these thoughts, that the children need to be put in a safe place. But what is that, and what does that look like? And I think the unknown piece, on the side of the mom, is knowing, like, am I ever going to see him again, or am I ever going to be around him again? If there was already a plan or something you knew was going to happen, or how it was going to be dealt with, that maybe you'd be more honest about how you're feeling and looking for that support.
A few weeks ago, I had Dr. John Delatorre on the show. He's a forensic psychologist. He couldn't be on the show today. He had another scheduled event to attend. But we were talking about psychotic people that try and get kids to do horrible things. And he said, from a psychologist's perspective, they're trying to figure out are these bad thoughts, are you going to act on them? So I think that in psychology, and I'm not a psychologist, but from what our discussion, the psychologist is going to take action if you're going to take action. But if it's just a thought, then that's something that can be treated or discussed or handled in some way. So I think that psychology as a practice is set up to address that situation. We're not going to call Child Protective Services unless you have a plan that you intend on carrying it out. But if it's just the thought that you might harm the children, you would be protected in that regard.
See, and I wouldn't know that, right? So then you as a mom that wouldn't know that, you might not feel comfortable sharing again because you don't understand that that's how it works. Like before it gets worse, let's share how we're feeling so that it could be addressed ahead of time.
Yeah. It's really important to check on your family and your friends. And if you don't have friends or family, then I would suggest find a church because we can't pick our family members, but we can pick our friends. And so find a place with people that has things in common that you enjoy. If you enjoy gardening, join a garden club. If you enjoy religion, find a church. If you enjoy collecting vinyls, is there some kind of vinyls collectors club?
No, but I should start one.
There you go.
Daniel will join it.
Vinyls and coffee.
There you go.
My dad and his wife, they are a part of a garden club.
Oh.
And so you might look into that.
Yeah, I will. That would be so fun. I hadn't even thought about joining a gardening club.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Yeah. And my dad and his wife, they don't garden, but the garden club is a popular group, and so they have parties and they do lots of fun things. Did you guys have fun on Talk Law Radio today?
I did have fun. This was great.
Would you recommend this experience to people that you know?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You heard it. They recommend Talk Law Radio. If you have an interesting perspective on the law or questions about some regulation or court case, go to talklawradio.com and click the button that says you want to be a guest. And I'll get an email and I'll reach out to you and we could discuss when and how to discuss that situation. This is Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt here with America Palmer and Reagan Burleson. We just finished talking about the Lindsay Clancy case. If this is interesting to your friends, like, comment, and share. We'll talk to you later.
Most families don't realize they have hidden legal blind spots until it's too late. Wills, trusts, Medicaid planning, even protecting a business. These are the kinds of issues attorney Todd Marquardt helps uncover before they become problems. Todd is the host of Talk Law Radio, where each week he guides listeners through the legal challenges families, veterans, and business owners face, while showing them the practical steps to protect what matters most. Catch Talk Law Radio, Saturdays at 11 a.m. on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, 6:30 a.m. The Word, and now in Houston on AM 1070 and 103.3 FM The Answer, or anytime on YouTube. Planning isn't just about documents. It's about peace of mind, security for loved ones, and building a legacy that lasts. Don't wait for a crisis. Do it before you die.